Good afternoon. Welcome to the October edition in our Supply Chain Management webinar series. A couple things before we get started this afternoon. If you have any questions during the presentation, click the raise your hand thing on your control panel, and I will try and answer those questions as I'm going along. If I don't get to you during the webinar, I will stay on the line after the webinar is ended to answer any and all questions. Second thing, if you miss any of this webinar, it will be up on our webinar page on our website later on this afternoon, as well as many of our previous webinars. So let's get started. Today we're going to talk about distribution inventory replenishment systems. We're going to look at what objectives we're trying to achieve with distribution inventory. Then we're going to look at ways to replenish this inventory, pull systems, push systems, their pros and cons, and a collaborative approach to maintaining the inventory at various distribution environments. So let's get started. In a traditional manufacturing environment, you manufacture a product, you store it in inventory, and you sell it to your customers. As businesses are starting out, those customers typically are relatively local to you. And the inventory that you're maintaining is usually right at the end of the production line itself. So you are shipping directly from the factory to your customers. But as businesses grow and your customer base expands and geographically they get more spread out, we run into a need of having the actual inventory closer to where the customer is than to where it's manufactured. You see, the main objective that we're trying to achieve with distribution inventory is to have the right material at the right place at the right time to facilitate the sale of the product to the customer. If you want to have good delivery performance, a lot of times you want to have that material almost right next door to where your customers are. In the area that I live in central New Jersey, we happen to be at the crossroads of several major modes of transportation. We have a north-south interstate highway system that intersects right here in Mercer County, New Jersey, with an east-west interstate highway system. We have the ports of New York, New Jersey, Delaware, where material can come in. We have an extensive rail system to move material, and we also have another precious commodity here. In central New Jersey, we have a lot of empty farmland that is geographically centered around major population areas where we can get staff for distribution centers. We have less than 10 miles from my office. Amazon.com is creating this huge distribution center for their product in the state of New Jersey. So the objectives that we're trying to meet are the right material at the right place at the right time to facilitate that transfer of ownership, selling it to our customers, because our customers nowadays want everything yesterday. So we've looked at the objectives of inventory, of distribution inventory. Now let's look at ways that we go about replenishing that inventory. And we're going to look at pull systems and push systems, their pros and cons. Pull systems start at the distribution center itself. We have distribution centers that are geographically dispersed. They are delivering product to a local market which they have extensive knowledge of. When they need material, they issue requirements directly onto the factory. Now, you could have the same product being stored at 3 geographically separated distribution facilities, and in a pull system, there is no coordination between those distribution facilities about the quantity they are pulling of that item or when they're pulling it. So what happens is the orders, when they get to the factory floor, come in unexpectedly, cause manufacturing to have to stop running something to do a quick run of this particular product, and it really messes up the ability of manufacturing to produce the product efficiently in stable manufacturing environment. So what we see is a lot of rush orders and missed deliveries to the distribution centers, and possibly at that point you could have material going to one distribution center that doesn't have an immediate requirement for it, whereas another distribution center can't get enough of the stuff. So in a pull system, the distribution centers are happy because they're able to tailor their inventory to the local market that they're serving. But on the production side, they're unhappy because it plays havoc with the ability to efficiently and effectively keep production running to produce product without excessive cost and on-time delivery. Let's look at the flip side of this. Push system. Push system is where all the planning is done at the factory. This is kind of like the old Soviet system of central planning. The factory takes input from the distribution centers, but when push comes to shove, the factory creates a stable production system that is producing product to their schedule, and they send to the different distribution facilities what they think the distribution facility will need. On the distribution facility side of the page here, they're really not too happy about this because the factory, no matter where it is, doesn't know what's going on in the local environment on a day-to-day basis. So they're not sending the distribution facility the material they need to support that interaction with their local customers. They either send them too little or too much, or they don't send it at the right time. So in a push system, the pro is we get stable manufacturing. The con is we lose the ability to deal with the local interface with our customers. So both of these systems, push or pull, have their strengths and their weaknesses in a distribution inventory environment. What we need is a system that takes the best pieces of those two and adds it to another system that we're all familiar with to come up with a collaborative approach to inventory replenishment. That collaborative approach is called distribution requirements planning. It uses the exact same logic as materials requirements planning that we use in manufacturing to figure out what subassemblies, what material we need at what particular point in time based on future requirements. With distribution requirements planning, each distribution center projects into the future what the demand will be for each product in this case here, weekly time buckets. They know what their on-hand inventory is and how that will be consumed. They can plan what period in the future they are going to have a requirement that is going to make their projected available inventory fall below a reorder point. So it's basically a time-phased reorder point that we're familiar with material requirements planning. So each distribution center can be reacting to what's happening in their own local environment. They're looking out into the future doing that. And these requirements then are routinely transferred to production at the plant, to where production can schedule replenishment orders to fill, in this example here, the same items being used at all 3 distribution facilities. So they may create one large order to handle all of these requirements, or they may create several smaller orders if the time period between demand at each of these distribution facilities is spread out enough. So we have this communication going on through the distribution requirements plan that allows the factory to create a stable schedule to produce the product efficiently without missing deliveries and without a lot of expediting, and the distribution facilities to be able to meet their local customer demand. This distribution requirements planning system isn't foolproof. I mean, there is no system that is foolproof as far as maintaining inventory, because things happen. But in comparison to pull system or push system, where it's either you're taking care of manufacturing at the expense of the distribution facilities, or you're taking care of the distribution facilities at the expense of manufacturing efficiency and on-time delivery. This collaborative system, called distribution requirements planning, allows both sides of the organization to be working towards a common goal using one tool that's available for everybody to see what's going on. So that's it. We've looked at what objectives we're trying to achieve with distribution inventory management. We looked at a couple classic systems, push systems and pull systems, and their pros and cons. And then we looked at a collaborative approach using distribution requirements planning. And remember, DRP, the logic in it is the same logic we see in materials requirements planning in our ERP systems, to produce a win-win situation that allows us to maintain the right inventory in the right amount at the right time at the distribution centers to be able to support our customer demand from our diverse customer base. So that's it. Do we have any questions? All right. Well, since there are no questions, we'll wrap it up for today. Hope you can join us next month when we'll be talking about the cost of quality. Y'all have a good day. Enjoy this beautiful fall weather, and we'll see you all next month. Take care.